Peters is a financial advisor. He joins us now to talk more about the debt ceiling and what happens to your bottom line if Congress and the White House can come up with some type of agreement. David, thanks for being back with us. This game of chicken they're playing in Washington over the debt ceiling, what are the real world implications if this doesn't get solved for the average Jane and John Doe out there?
Well, I think that some of the implications were already said. I mean, one of the big things is the surging of job losses, also just volatility in the job market, in the stock market. Also, just the delay in getting things out like Social Security checks. I think that that's a possibility. Also making it just harder to borrow money, too, rising interest rates. And so very large implications.
I'm glad you pointed that out. The Fed raising interest rates 0.25% again. That's more aggressively than anything that we've seen in the last 40 years. But now they're saying they're going to start backing off. Has that strategy worked, and can we survive what we're already looking at?
Well, unfortunately, Del, I don't think that we really have much of a choice. I mean, I think that we have to try to survive it. I mean, the big thing I think for consumers right now is to just be smart about their debt. Make sure that they're not taking on additional debt that they don't need to take on. Watch interest rates. If you do need to borrow money, try to make sure that you're not borrowing more than you need to. Cut down on credit card spending. That tends to be the one that hurts people the most. And if they do need to take out a loan, try to look for the lowest interest rate possible.
David, this is the part that doesn't make sense to most people. The Fed says they're raising rates to slow the economy. As the economy slows, people lose jobs. As people lose jobs, they lose money. And yet that's what makes the Fed happy. How does that make sense?
Well, I think that what you're pointing to is that there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance that we haven't really had. And so when the economy is growing too fast, when it's too hot, you see the high inflation that we have seen over the last year and a half to 2 years. So there's a balance there. We do want the economy to grow, but we want it to grow in a sustainable way. Lately, especially due a lot of because of the spending during the pandemic, we have needed to back off of some of our spending. We needed to slow down. And so one way to do that is by raising interest rates. And that has been the way that the Fed has decided to do that. And so we're hurting because we're still kind of unpacking everything from the spending that we took during the pandemic.
David, I want to go back to the debt ceiling debate. One of the reasons that the deficit is so high involves about a $1.4 trillion tax cut to the wealthiest Americans out there during the last administration. Should Capitol Hill be spending more time talking about a combination of cuts and also cuts to people who make a lot of money and can afford those cuts?
I think that they should because both of those things work hand in hand. It's not just the debt ceiling that is an issue. I mean, it is overspending because that's part of the reason that why we have gotten into the situation that we're in. So those two things do work together, and so I do think that having those conversations is important. Whether or not, though, those conversations need to happen now, I think that is really the point at issue between Democrats and Republicans right now. The major issue that's staring us in the face is the debt ceiling.
And it is staring at us indeed. David Peters, our financial advisor and CPA. David, as always, thanks for your insight.
Thank you.